And welcome back to the Hardline. I'm John Bachman from Newsmax Now. Donald Trump continues to defend his campaign manager, Corey Lewandowski, after his arrest yesterday morning for grabbing former Breitbart reporter Michelle Fields. Trump claims Fields is making this story up.
She grabbed me by the arm. I didn't even know who it was, but she went through Secret Service because they were surrounding me, and we were walking out. And by the way, she was asking me questions she wasn't supposed to because the press conference had ended.
Trump making the rounds on the morning show. Jupiter, Florida police released a surveillance video yesterday showing the incident between Trump's campaign manager and Fields. After the incident, Fields tweeted this image showing bruises on her arm. Now, Lewandowski also on Twitter denied he'd ever met Fields at first, let alone even touch her. Now we know that's false. For the last day and a half, Trump has been saying Lewandowski was just protecting him from an overly aggressive reporter. Now, Lewandowski, of course, has denied all these accusations. Trump says he will not enter a guilty plea when and if this case does go to court. It's expected to make its first court appearance, Lewandowski is, in May. Back to the Hardline.
If any other campaign had a member of their senior staff allegedly assault a member of the media and even allegedly leave said media individual with bruises on her arm, and especially considering it's an alleged assault on a woman, you would guess that staffer would be at the very least reality, not just allegedly, suspended or chastised. Hey, not in this world. And in this case and another, where people are wondering why a lawsuit has not already been filed, we choose not to play lawyer, but to ask someone who is. Welcome the veteran personal injury lawyer who has seen it all before. From the law offices of Eric Richman in Manhattan, Eric Richman. All right, barrister, let's go ahead and get to work here. I know you've seen the tape here. This is simple battery, a misdemeanor here. Is this really such a big deal? You tell us why.
Well, it's a big deal to Miss Fields, and it's a big deal to the police in Florida. People start to get into the extent of her damages and her injuries. That doesn't matter when it comes to simple battery in Florida. There's two ingredients: if it was intentional and if he caused harm, not the extent of the harm. Those two ingredients, those two criteria are met. She has a case. The police in Florida have a case. It's why he was arrested.
Do we not have to say, though, that one of the biggest things here is Corey Lewandowski, the gentleman in question here, wrote on Twitter, "I never touched you," which is what he said to Michelle Fields in writing. He lied, yes?
Yes, absolutely, he lied. And Trump continues to lie on his behalf. But that seems to fuel their campaign. When you have a campaign that has a foundation based upon repetitive, pathological lying, then this is the kind of stuff that keeps it going. This is a quintessential Trump event. Even before it happened, Trump has animosity and disrespect towards women. Trump has animosity and disrespect towards the media. Also, Trump has kind of a disregard for the truth. You had this pre-packaged even before it happened, and then it happened and it fit perfectly into his narrative.
Is it not fair to say, I'm going to play devil's advocate here with you for just a moment here, that this all could have stopped and gone away if Corey Lewandowski would have went up to Michelle Fields and said, "Hey, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Things got a little out of hand." And then Donald Trump comes out and says, "Hey, we apologize. We really didn't mean anything by this." And then Michelle Fields maybe says, "Okay, look, I'm a reporter. Things happen. You get jostled. You walk away." Would it not be fair to say that this would have all just gone away had that been done? But that does not fit what is the MO, if you will, of the people involved.
Absolutely. It's the MO, it's the narrative, and it works for Trump. It keeps it within the news and within several news cycles. So by A, blaming the victim, blaming her, B, lying about what occurred, and then C, after the video comes out, still continuing to keep with this narrative, this lie, they keep it going, and they keep the discussion going, and that's exactly what Trump had planned all along. That's
Let me talk about that briefly when you talk about this being a woman. I think that's something we have to talk about here. In today's day and age, today's society, Is it not fair to say that when a jury looks at this, a prosecutor looks at it, they're going to look at the fact that this was a woman that was allegedly assaulted here, and that makes a big difference in triggering the potential of charges and actually going to a jury, yes?
Well, in the eyes of the law, it doesn't, but in the eyes of a jury that might have more or less sympathy for a woman, yes, it might, and there could be a double standard here, but the law doesn't make any distinction between whether or not this happened to a male or a female reporter. Absolutely not. For Trump, it matters, because Trump obviously has hostility towards women, especially women that question him, or that in any way cause any, in his mind, disrespect towards his authority.
I got about 90 seconds left. I want to switch
for him.
to another case here for you because, very briefly, the National Enquirer story alleging that Ted Cruz had extramarital affairs with 5 women. Everybody's been talking about it here. But here's what you see on social media an awful lot. If it wasn't true, then Ted Cruz would have his lawyer already involved in the National Enquirer. He should be suing them for libel immediately. And some people are saying that tells us that maybe this really went on. Okay, 60 seconds. Give us the reality then of somebody who has this happen to them and why you would not see a lawsuit right away.
Okay, well, there's 2 reasons why. One is strategic, that he wants it just to go away. And given how much events are always produced around what happens with Trump, it's going to go away. It could fade away. And maybe that's what he's hoping. It's hard to understand what's happening in his head right now. The second is really a legal reason. There are all kinds of hurdles. When you sue somebody for defamation, it's very hard to do that. It's very hard to prove those economic damages. And then each one of those people, each one of those women can come in and testify about the substance of those allegations. And remember, truth is an absolute defense to defamation. So if any of that, if any part of that story is true, then that part of the defamation case fails. He doesn't, my guess is that his legal team doesn't want to go through that process.
All right, let me ask you then 15 seconds. You're an attorney. Ted Cruz comes to you. Would you advise him not to even bother with this, to let it die?
Well, as his attorney, I'd want to go forward with it. I'd like to prosecute that kind of case. But I think his campaign manager might disagree with me.
I tend to think so. That might be it. But hey, look, as an attorney, you get that juicy case. You want to get right in there. And of course, everybody is still going to continue talking about this, whether or not we tell them that it doesn't make sense to file a lawsuit. It will still go on. Eric Richman, a pleasure, my friend. Thanks so much for joining us. We will talk again. Now, being the object of a lawsuit is one thing. Having the FTC breathing down your neck is another. And what it means with regard to an automotive company taking your cash. Next on The Hardline.